Welcome back, Roasties, to the Roasted Podcast. Absolutely buzzing. It is grand final week, the week of weeks this week. It'll be the biggest one for a long time to be remembered. The two biggest clubs out in Sydney, out in Western Sydney, going toe-to-toe for the very first time in a grand final. The Penny Panthers up against the Parramatta Eels. It will be an absolute blockbuster. And joining me today is one of Parra's finest and favourite sons, a career with the blue and gold that spanned 11 years and 233 games. The great Tim Mannah. How are you, legend?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to be here. Thanks for the intro, but I'm also a big fan of yours as well. I've followed your stuff closely over the years, and it's incredible content. So I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, mate. No, I really appreciate the kind words. Always good, getting a bit of feedback from the people, and especially someone that's been in the game as well. So, mate,
That's what I like, mate. I like how quick you come up with the stuff. The games were just finished, and before fans even in their car, you got these memes and you got these storylines. Like it's outstanding how quick you come up with it, but it's good value.
Mate, I'm quick in other areas, which unfortunately doesn't help my love life. But no, it's good. That's the thing. You got to be quick these days because there's so many people doing the same sort of thing. So
yeah,
if you're not,
I was convinced as a team of you guys. I was convinced as a bunch of yous.
So everyone says that. I'm like, no, just one guy out in the shed in the backyard. But it's good fun. It's good fun having a laugh, and that's the thing. A lot of people engage it. A lot of players engage it. I know you do. You jump on there and you engage with it, and a lot of the players do as well, and mix it in with the fans as well. So it's good to have a bit of fun, mate. But really appreciate you taking your time out and joining us today. I know it's a huge week for you with the Eels in the grand final. Extra busy for you. We will get on to the Eels this year in the grand final, but yourself, Timmy, doing some great work with Fox and SEN as well. How's footy retirement? Because you're still fairly young, but what else have you been up to?
Yeah, mate. I'm probably one of the lucky ones. The transition's been pretty smooth post football. When I retired, I worked at the club looking after our sponsors, and it was kind of a job I'd worked towards my whole career. I did a business degree, did a financial planning diploma, I'm a real estate license, and kind of the last 3 years of my career, I was working a day of the week with the partnerships team looking after our sponsors. And I thought I'd be there for the next 30 years. I figured I'd be in sport. And one of my clients, when I was at Parramatta, one of the Parramatta sponsors was a client of mine. And I pitched him an opportunity to go on the jersey. We got to know each other. And then after he signed on the jersey, the next day he said, I'd love you to come with me and start something with me. And I haven't looked back since. I've been doing that. That's in finance. That's my main gig. And then the media stuff's all been a bit of bonus. It's really good to do the media stuff. I get to stay connected with the sport. Get to watch. It's just we get to watch the games with our mates and just comment on it, which is pretty much what commentating is. So you feel connected in it, but it's also really nice to kind of spread your wings and grow a career outside of that as well. And I'm still an ambassador for the Eagles, which I love as well. That connection with the club is something that I really cherish, and the club's a big part of my life, and I'm really really excited about this week because it's finally time to get the monkey off the back.
Mate, how good is it having a job where you just get to watch footy every day? People ask me that, working in content. Yeah, that's my job. You get to sit there and watch 8 games of footy every week. It's brilliant.
How do you go about what does the missus say? Does she say you're a joke?
Yeah, no, it's funny because she understands it now. When at the very beginning she didn't. It takes a bit of convincing, but when obviously I'm making a living from it, so she's happy. But spending every weekend in the shed, locked up and watching footy is a little bit hard. But it's also fun. Tomorrow night with the Dally M. Sorry, love, I can't cook dinner and look after the kids tonight. I've got to go watch the Dally M's for work. So you get to get out of a few daily chores as well, which is good. But yeah,
well played. I do enjoy the media side of things. It's just like I said, it's nice to be able to watch the game without the emotional attachment of being a player and commenting on it. When you're playing and you do media, you always get your walls up. You don't want to say anything that's going to fire up the opposition. You don't want to say anything that your coach might not like. So you always and that's why we get some of the bland answers of players that are kind of just towing the line. And then once you retire, some players do it while they're still playing, but I found when I retired, I spoke so much more freely of what I really thought and how what I saw in the game, and it's a lot easier when you're not playing.
Do you love it when players you look at Latrell the last few weeks and probably the last few months actually, he's sort of changed his style a bit. He's a bit more open, a bit more outspoken, and so he doesn't really care what anyone says about him now. And there's players like that. They're starting to come out. They're coming out of their shell. They're not just the bland, single answers. It's more of an influence from the US, but you love seeing that.
Well, I think the whole generation of kids coming through are all like that. I look at Parramatta and you got the Dylan Browns and those characters that are, they're so special because they say what's on their mind, that they are who they are, and they don't worry about putting their walls up too much. And I find that really refreshing. I love it. I was part of a generation that kind of was influenced by the Hindies, the Kalos, the Luke Birds, and they were influenced by the Dean Pays, Jared McCrackens, all those guys. And it was always, kind of don't let her up, stay in your lane. But I actually love that the new generation are confident and just go out there and just are who they are.
A lot of them back it up too. They come out and say something and they just back it up on the field. So hopefully we'll see more.
Haynes was a bit of a pioneer in that sense. Like Jared Haynes was kind of before his time in that regard. Like a lot when he was Larry and vocal and just not afraid to be who he was. There was a lot of there wasn't many people doing that. Whereas now, I feel like a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I think it's great to see. Getting a bit of character, and we don't want to lose that in the game. Like we've had them in the past, and it's good to see sort of they're coming back and different. I think a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh, it's Americanized. They're just copying stuff," but that's what we're brought up on. That's what they're influenced by. So bring it out, and it helps bring out their own character.
Yeah, America seems to be doing all right as well in sport, though. So if you copy a bit of it, I'm sure it's okay.
Even the lowest paid players are getting paid, the salary cap of our squad. So, they're doing something right.
Their whole sport is to go change to what they're doing. So,
mate,
it's a part of, and it's a whole bigger topic to have about the branding of players and what that value is, and whether you can monetize your IP. All that stuff is like another topic, but America do it really well, and as a result of that, you get better player behavior, you get better, community involvement, all because the players are trying to build their brand because they can monetize that.
Yep.
Whereas in Australia at the moment, it's really hard to build your brand and do anything with it, so people don't really bother, and that's why I think if you could, there'd be a lot more people thinking twice about getting in trouble on the weekend, or a lot more people wanting to do more stuff with charities because they're looking at how can I build my brand.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of players aren't looking to. At the end, when they're 20, 21, they're not looking when they're 33, 34, leaving the game. Yeah. What can be built to that? They're just looking now going, I can get heaps of money now. That's fine. But imagine if they go, in 10 years' time, you're going to have the X deal, Y deal. And if you stuff up on the off season or weekend, there goes that. And
correct.
Mate, I have to bring up one thing. The doco just won A Story of Hope. Doco on KO, for anyone that hasn't seen it, go ahead and jump on it and give it a look because it's a brilliant doco. It shows behind the scenes of yourself, Tim, and with Christian Welsh and Ryan Pappenhausen travelling to Uganda to help underprivileged kids. Tell us how special that trip was for you.
Mate, it was really cool. It kind of all started about when we first did the Tim Mannah Cup. That game would raise money for funds, and we started the Mannah Foundation, which was pretty much a vehicle where we'd collect the funds and then pass them on to a local charity. And the local charity that my wife and I chose to support was called Compassion Australia. They were doing a project in Uganda, and we funded that. So we built a skill development center in Uganda, and we just thought we just wanted to support them. If that's what you're doing, let us do it for you. So we did that, and they said, "Hey, we'd love you to come see what you've done, the changes to making people's lives." And I said, "Well, I'm happy to come, but if I come, why don't we bring a couple of footy boys over and film it and tell that story so other people can get involved and see what you guys are doing as well." So I did. To be honest, I tried to do it with the Parra boys, but it was like herding sheep, mate, trying to get them to get their visas ready and their paperwork in. I won't mention any names, Brad Jakarangi, but it was hard work. But the media crew that was coming, they said, "Hey, we know a couple of Melbourne boys. Do you want us to ask?" I said, "Yeah, go for it." And within 24 hours, Christian and Pappenhausen had all their paperwork submitted. They'd gone and got their shots, their needles done by the doctor, and they were ready to go. I'm like, these two, I couldn't have asked for two better guys to come. And at the time, 2019, they were like still kind of breaking through in their careers. Christian just came off the back of a frustrating injury. Pappenhausen debuted that year and had a bit of a breakout year as well. And then it was really cool because we filmed it in end of 19. And then 20 COVID hit, and to see this, the documentary came out, and then that year I just followed the boys' careers closely, and Christian went on to be probably the best forward in that State of Origin comp, that series that year. Pappenhausen won the Clive Churchill medal. They both won the grand final. So it was really cool to see their story. The next 12 months was really, really great to see.
It was a brilliant doco, and unfortunately, you would have done it more if COVID hadn't hit. Is that you're looking to do another one? Maybe not Uganda, but another trip like that soon.
Yeah, we're looking at even trips in Australia, in the outback in Australia. So I've been working closely with the Compassion guys as well. They're definitely keen to do another trip. The overseas ones have slowed down a lot more due to COVID. So we're looking at other options. But yeah, it's definitely something we want to continue doing and get some guys involved. I did it after we made the grand final in 2009. The week after that, we went to Rwanda for a trip. And there was a documentary on that one as well. I went away with some of the Parra players. And it was such a good eye opener because you play football and you're so caught up in this bubble of thinking this is the whole world's in this bubble.
Yeah.
And you kind of get taken out of that and put somewhere in like Rwanda, and you go, okay, well, maybe the NRL isn't the do all and end all of my life. There's a bit more outside of that.
Yeah. Now, like I said, it's on KO. Check it out. He's a great doco, and it's brilliant to see current and former players, getting together, doing these little things. They're big things, but little for us. Like you said, it's big, massive for them. And can't wait to see the next one. Well, I was doing some research on you, and it feels like you've been gone from the game for a while, but you're only playing like 2019. That's when you retired. You're only 34 years old now. What chances have we got seeing you at the World Cup for Lebanon? You're going to pull the boots back on?
Oh, Robbie Farah tried to twist my arm a number of times this year, and as recent as only last month. But mate, I really enjoyed retirement. It was funny. As soon as I retired, something clicked in my brain where the idea of contact was terrible. Like I used to watch the boys train and think, how did I do that? Like I used to do contact. You do it without even thinking. When you're playing, you rock up on a Tuesday. I've got contact today. Yeah, right. You bash each other like you're running into a brick wall. You get through that, and then you get to the game day. Game day, you finish. You feel like you've been in a car accident the next 2 days. You recover from that Tuesday. You've got contact again. All right, here we go. And you don't even think about it.
Yeah, just continues on. Yeah.
And then when I retired, it's like something clicked in my head. I'm like, I don't want to ever have to tackle Nelson again. Like stuff like that, I just don't want to do. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't be playing for Lebanon on the World Cup, but I am tuning them on and hoping they have a great campaign.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Kicks off 2 weeks? 2 weeks from this weekend, so it should be good. I hope to see the Cedars do well. They had a trial match, I think, against Italy last weekend. Yeah. I think saw some footage of that, which was good. Getting closer and closer. We're going to touch on your career. I'd like to get players on when we've got the grand final that from the teams that when they were last in the grand final, and obviously Penrith was last year, but before last year I had Scotty Sattler, so it's great to have you here. The last time they were in was 2009, which also
you guys know that Scott Sattler made a game-saving tackle. Did he mention that?
No, I actually brought it up. I found some footage of. I'd never seen it before, but
not many people know. So I think it's important that people know that because Sattler doesn't like talking about it. But I'm glad it came up.
How often does he bring it up?
We're gonna add it on the SEN, like the commercial.
The real thing, yeah.
And it's literally just him talking about that tackle. Here we go again. But it's mate, you have to admit it was one of the best plays in the grand final. So I'll be bragging about it too if I was him.
And it was funny, every year they start bringing up highlights. It makes every highlight reel for every grand final.
Yeah. So it should, but they're those moments, and I've got no doubt this week as well is going to have to come down to a moment like that. There's going to be a key, pivotal moment that's going to change the game.
Who do you? We're going to get onto it shortly, but I'll take a quick since you're talking about it. Who do you think will make the biggest play from the weekend, from the game?
I think Mitchell and Dylan will step up. They're the two that if Parra are going to win this game, which I think they will, they're the two that are going to lead the way for them.
Yep.
But you're asking about the big play, mate. I got a gut feeling Laney is going to be the guy. I reckon he's going to come up with something. He's just been in such good form every week. It's not like he's just had a good game and had 3 bad games and a good game.
Yep.
He's been consistently getting better. I thought he was the difference last week. He's ruled down by 8. Energy was low. They were tired. It was hot. they had every reason to throw the towel in, but he just come with a few plays that sparked them with energy. Then they, off the back of that, we came home. So I just got a feeling he could be the guy that comes up with a big play. Either it could be a try or an offload or something that sets up the momentum shift.
It's also like when they've come off a big game, like he did the weekend just gone. The commentators are talking about him, a lot more focus on him. So even I'm not going to say like a small play that means nothing, but a smaller play probably turns into a bigger play when you've got the commentary behind it. I actually mentioned to Clinton Newton, he engaged with the page and we're doing some stuff with the RLPA and things like that. And I said, we have a regular season Dally M Rugby League Players Association Player of the Year. We also have a Clive Churchill and Player of the Year. But I think we actually need like a finals MVP. Because it is a new comp when they start. Everyone talks about it. It is a brand new comp. You've got the bottom bottom four of the top 8 and the top 4, and then they merge. And I think there's so many storylines that come from that. There's players like, you look at Dylan Edwards last year when he came back from missing week 1 and how pivotal he was in the second week and the prelim of making the grand final. So I think there's like Jason Taumalolo 2015, JT 15. Things like that, players where they actually have a huge influence in making the grand final, but then someone else will not steal the spotlight, but have a bigger game, and they'll get the Clive Churchill, and everyone talks about them. I think there's an area for a medal or an award for like a finals MVP, stealing that from the Americans as well. But I think it's just the area.
I like it. It says a lot about the player too, like the character of a player, because they're the games that you want players to step up in. I don't mind if a player's quiet all year, but if they can get to the finals and step up and win you a comp, I'd rather play that player any day, because you want something to deliver when there's a lot on the line. And and like I said, Laney's been that for Parra at the moment. He's been that guy that just stood up. So too. I thought the 2 front rows have been enormous the last couple of weeks.
The whole forward pack has been massive.
Yeah.
We are going to
creating so much.
We are going to get onto that. I want to switch back to you back in 2009. You like talking about yourself? Do you like talking about your career? Like,
really? No, it depends. Some people my missus might say I love talking about myself. I don't like, because to be honest, it's kind of, you look back at 2009, what could have been, rather than, and that's why my advice for hope for these boys is just don't have any, not regrets, but like what could have been moments. I look back at that Melbourne game. There was a couple of moments where if it went the other way, we could have had a premiership. Not that I don't like talking about it. It'd be a lot easier to talk about if we probably had that ring on our finger. I think any Parramatta fan will tell you that it's been like that. That it's the first thing that comes up. The fact that we haven't won for 36 years, and every player knows about it. Fans know about it. So it'll be just so refreshing and nice just to get that out of the way, win the comp, and then just focus on being consistently good footy team without worrying about breaking a hoodoo or a curse or a drought.
Yep. Now you debuted in 2009 and end up making a grand final. You think this is how special that was, in your first year to make a grand final, but thinking like, how easy is this? You're going to make grand finals for the rest of your life.
Well, I debuted round 1, and I remember I was on matches. I was getting match payments for every game I played, and I debuted round 1, and then we came 8th, so we had to play like 4 finals games. I played every game that season. So I played 28 games.
I actually had that as a trivia. I was like, I didn't know if you knew that, but you were one of 5 players, all Parramatta players, that played 28 games that year, which is the most games by anyone in the NRL for that season.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know that, but I know that the matches stopped in the year after. The club's like, okay, no more matches. But I enjoyed it. It was a great ride. I had so much fun that year, and it was one of those years. I think we're coming like second last halfway through the year. So for us to make the finals, we had to kind of, every week was a final for us. If we lost one week, we're out. So we just kind of went on this ride where every week we got more and more confident, more and more belief, and I'm hoping that's what the Parra boys have after the last 2 weeks. 2 good wins. A belter against Canberra, a tight, gritty comeback against Cowboys, sets himself up for a lot of belief and confidence coming into this game.
When you talked about the run that you went on, like the end of 2009, it was round 18. You're in 14th spot. You're only 5 points out of the 8, but you're still only like 3 points from Wooden Spoon as well. So, was there always a sense of we can still make the finals even that late in the season?
Well, Daniel Hanson, he's a genius of a coach, but to his credit, he kind of changed our style of play. So whatever it was we were doing at first, I think it wasn't working. And we kind of shifted that to playing a bit more free flowing, a lot more offloads, bit less structure. And then on the back of that, we created a lot of opportunities. But yeah, he was a really good coach. And the best thing he did was keep the belief there. Like even when we weren't going great and we'll dropping balls and losing games that we should have won. Then all of a sudden, once we started winning, he knew how to harness that feeling and recreate that every week. And it was funny. The only game that he didn't do that was the last round of the season. So we got to the last round. We for like 2 or 3 months, every week was a do or die. If we lose, we're out. We lose, we're out. The last round was the first time that we'll guarantee the spot in the finals, whether we won or lost. And he figured out that we're going to play first place Dragons the next week, whether we won or lost as well.
Yep.
So that last round of the season it was the weirdest. He didn't talk to us. We didn't do video. We didn't have a pre-game talk. There was no game plan. It was just such a weird feeling. We got out there, we got flogged. And we came back in the sheds after the game, and Ando goes, righto, that's on me. Next week we're going to prepare to play. It was like, so part of his plan was not trying to ride that first week, and then the next week we came and pulled the Dragons' pants down. And that's for me, that was a genius coaching move, because it would have been a big task to beat them twice in 2 weeks. And we saw South and Rabbitohs, same thing. It's a big task to beat a good team twice in 2 weeks. And Rabbitohs won the last round, Roosters, and then Rabbitohs won the first week of finals. And I'm a bit of the optimist, but I think Penrith are going to struggle to beat Parramatta twice in 3 weeks. It's a big ask to have to beat a good team twice in that short amount of time.
Mate, I'm a Dragons fan, so that watching that game, I think we beat you like 30 something nil.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we've got these guys next week. It's easy.
Yeah.
And then we'll travel home from a game in Dubbo, which was an hour away from home. We stopped in the pub before we left. I think it was close. I think you guys might have been in front at half time. And then we got to this pub, which was near full time. It was like 25-12. I'm like, oh, we're gone here. But so I always thought it would have been a plan by Daniel Hanson, knowing that you couldn't move up, maybe not throw all your cards out, not show your full hand that week before, knowing that you're going to have to face the Dragons the following week. But it wasn't that, or do you think it was? Do you think it was a bit of a ploy that you guys just didn't pick up on, that he just sort of wanted to not do much and hold it close to your chest?
Oh, well, mate, I was a kid, so maybe the senior players knew what he was up to, and then he was part of his. I just remember thinking, this is weird. Like, we're not doing, he's not even talking to us, before the game, and there's no game plan. There's no. I remember he pulled Hindy out. Hindy had a bit of a niggle, pulled him out of the game as well. So I was just, and looking back now, it was just so smart, because he knew that he had one good game to beat them, and he just saved it for when he made it. And I thought, that's a good coach.
Mate, the jump forward just to the prelim final that year. I think from memory, you beat about 8 tacklers, chipped and regathered, and ran about 60 metres to score a try. Does that sound about right?
Mate, it's spot on. It's like recreating it exactly how I saw it. That was my first try, and I didn't get many in my career, so I remember it pretty vividly. And the way he explained it is exactly how I remember it.
Mate, you honoured the front rowers union very well, in only scoring 6 tries in your whole career, so kept it to a minimum. But it would have been good the first year to get off that nudie run that late. Yeah,
well, as a youngster, I would score tries because I think you had the size advantage. There was one year when I was under 13, I scored 72 tries, so that was like I was that fat big kid that parents would have hated. That I had a goatee at 13, like so.
You played the parents, and they all used to call for weight restrictions on.
I was that, I was the one that would have encouraged parents to want to change the rules. But my point is, I'd scored tries when I was younger, so to go a season without a try was not very common. So I was getting towards the end of the season. There's only one game after that one, so to score when I did, it was a bit of a relief. That said, though, I became a bit of a nudie one veteran expert, and I did plenty of them in my career as well.
Mate, you need to pass on some info to Alex Twal. He's over a century now, no tries. He needs to pull his finger out and get one.
Mate, I'm scared for him, because I feel like the more energy we put on it, the harder it's getting for him, because he's a thinker at the best of times. He's a big thinker. So I think it's definitely on his mind. He just I hope he cracks it soon. There's a few times really close this year.
Well, they had a play for him. I think it was second last or before he got injured, because he went out. Unfortunately, he ended with a head knock. But one of those games before that, they chipped inside, and you could see his face. He's fallen over, and it's bounced up, and you could see his face just like looking at it. And someone else has grabbed it, and I put it in slow motion because it was like heartbreaking. I'm like, oh mate, end up being offside, and he didn't get the try anyway. But I was like, oh, if he's stolen this off Twali, it's going to be hell to pay for everyone.
Oh, mate, I love the twirl. I love him very much. I love the idea of flooding the field when he does score the try. I'm all for it.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
I think we need to get just forget the fines. Just let everyone run the field, storm the field, celebrate.
I'm in. I remember there was one game we played Cowboys, and like I said, I didn't score many tries. And Normie was his first receiver. There's an inside like decoy and an outside decoy. I'm pushing outside him, about to run off him. He catches the ball, goes to dummies to me, and gets go straight through the line. And we're now he's only about 8 meters from the try line now. The fullback comes to him. All he has to do is pass to me, and I'll fall over the try line. He dummies and gets tackled.
Oh,
and I have not lived. I've just to this day I'm filthy at him. I'm so filthy.
No Christmas cards for Normie. What about grand final week? Tell us about the week leading up to the grand final. First, about the area in Parra. Massive support from the fans there. What's it like that week around Parramatta?
It was a really special week. It's a little bit of a blur because there's like so much happening, and obviously there's emotions and you're so excited. And I don't know if it's a blur because I didn't take it all in, or whether because we lost the game and now kind of try not to think about it too much. But it's a pretty awesome week. The feeling after the game against the Bulldogs, the prelim, it's just that euphoria of we're going to a grand final. Parramatta got right behind it. Everywhere you drove past is blue and gold streamers and cars beeping and cars covered in blue and gold. So it was a really, really cool week. Parramatta fans, mate, they're the best fans in the competition. There's a large number of them. Like if you'd be surprised if we go play at Brisbane and Gold Coast, and the turnout in Queensland is huge, and out in country New South Wales, Parramatta fans everywhere. And when you start winning, mate, they're a big base. So I'm really, really confident that this weekend's game is going to probably be 75% blue and gold. So it'll feel like a home game. So yeah, to answer your question, the week's amazing. The week's special. It's a lot. So again, Ando's advice was, and Ando had been in a grand final with the Warriors. He'd won 3 comps over there in England, so he'd been to a few big games. And his advice was just to enjoy it, take it all in.
Yep.
Don't get too serious. Don't overplay the game too early. And he's spot on, because if you try to do that before a big game, it can fatigue you and drain you. And that's my only worry about Panthers this week, because they're just so, mate. This is their 3rd grand final. And I was on the sideline doing the commentary, the radio stuff on the weekend, and Uppy goes to jump onto kick out after the siren to celebrate.
Yeah, I saw that,
yeah. Pushes them away, and I'm thinking, that's a bit odd. And then I was interviewing the players after the game, and mate, they weren't even smiling.
Yep.
It was just so like not a big deal. Like, we're getting ready. We haven't achieved anything yet. We're getting ready for next week. So, that part scares me about the Panthers, of how experienced they are with these big games. But that said, Parra can harness that feeling and that euphoria and that excitement well. It can come really good for us on the weekend.
I think, I posed this question myself, and I thought about doing a bit of content for it. I was like, because I don't think it's strong enough. But I'll ask you, what's more, is there more pressure on Parra for the 36 years since they haven't won, and they've been in 2 grand finals and haven't made it, or is there more pressure on the Penrith going back to back?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's pressure on Penrith because people expect them to win. They're by far the best team this year. That they probably deserve to win. So there's that pressure on them. But there's also pressure on Parramatta because, without getting caught up in the whole premiership window, I don't know if we'll ever get an opportunity like this. The playing group is getting split up a bit next year. We're losing Murata, Papali, Reid, Oregon, Kafusi, Ray Stone. So these are really good players that we're losing. And we'll get back there eventually, but it probably won't be soon. So there's that pressure that we need to do it while we have those players. But then there's also, mate, our run in. And I said at the start of the finals, I said, whoever loses this Penrith Parra game could potentially win the comp because you lose that game and you go up, you play either Melbourne or Canberra, which for us at Parramatta wasn't too big a deal, and we got through that one pretty easily. Then you play either Cronulla or Cowboys, who I think about both had great years, but maybe they're a bit overachieved. Like neither of them were, heavy premiership threats in terms of like a Penrith or a Roosters or a Melbourne, those heavyweights. You kind of got a bit of a light run into the grand final, and grand final day, anything can happen. And we've beat Penrith twice this year, so we've kind of have a bit of belief there. And I don't know if when Parramatta will get a chance as good as this. So I think in that regard, there is a bit of pressure there as well.
It's like they've beaten them twice in the regular season. I think the year before as well, they beat them twice in the regular season. This, I think,
right?
Yeah, I think they're one of the only teams to have they had a winning record against them. But it's almost like you're right. Like that loss, that they'll probably learn more from that than anyone, and go into it obviously different this year, different in the grand final. But yeah, I think there's almost equal amount of pressure. In going back to back, everyone expects you to win. There's all that's all the media will be talking about this week in regards to Parra is 36 years, the 2 loss grand finals, things like that. But just real quickly back onto the 2009, I just got to ask the question because I know as a fan, I go Parra were robbed in that 2009 against the cheating Melbourne Storm. You as a player, you might want to say it because you're in the media and that's fine, but do you ever play it like you just forget about it, it's gone, you don't talk about it, or is there still like anger about that?
Mate, there was the zero anger. To be honest, probably the first time it's ever come up in a conversation I've ever had was only a couple of days ago. And I was
really?
Hansie. We're just chatting and he talks about because you kind of reflect on what could have been that year. But I've got no resentment towards the Storm, mate. They still have to turn up. They still have to play a good game of football. And they credit to them, they won the game. And I use the analogy, mate. Parramatta achieved the salary cap. We won a wooden spoon. So at least they did it well.
Just didn't do it as well. Yeah.
But yeah, mate. Honestly, even if they gave it to us, it wouldn't have been the same. Like you.
Yeah, no. I think that argument's sort of dead. And like I don't agree with anyone that says that, but still feel like I know as a fan, I feel robbed of those years. You look at the record books and there's no premiership team that year, and I just want to know from a player that played in that.
Mate, to be honest, if you ask me, I say like I know the record books don't say Melbourne, but I say Melbourne won it. In my mind, I still think 2009 premiers was Melbourne, and you can't take that away from them either. They've got the memories of the Mad Mondays and the celebrations, and mate, that's why you do it for it. The record book is more of a technicality and a political position, but the reality is everyone knows they won it.
Yeah, 100%. I was there. I watched them win, so but anyway, mate, listen, let's get on to this year. This forward pack for Parra, I've got to touch on them. Paulo, RCG up front. You got Papali and Lane, like you spoke about, having massive years in sort of career best form, as well as Madison and the guys off the bench. Is this one of the best forward packs you've ever seen from Parra?
It is, mate. I think I like the balance of it as well. The way they complement each other, like Junior and Regan, mate. They're two of the best forwards in the pops in the game, but they're so different the way they play. Like Junior's a lot more dynamic. He's got some footwork, some really silky skills, and he's got that different body shape to Regan. He's a bit taller, a workhorse, hard to handle, strong, and just has a huge engine. So they both bring like two different things, and the way they complement each other is amazing. And there's no secret why Parra's plays good on the back of them, because when they're on, it's so easy for the rest of them. And obviously, you can look at the back line as well. And Dylan and Mitchell are great players, and they are brought into the game on the back of those two players and what they do.
I can't remember the last bad game they had. You can't pick one in this final series, and even before that, like in the lead up, I can't remember them having an off game. It's just what they do up front's amazing.
Now you talk about their front rowers here. Regan scored 2 tries in a semi-final. Like, come on, man.
I know. Not on, is it?
It's not on, mate.
He awarded it himself as well.
Yeah.
Put the whistle
maybe
on.
Maybe that would have got a few more tries.
Yeah, maybe. Just take it off the ref's hands. Yeah. But also, we spoke about Brownie. Brownie's back in after he hasn't been in the side since, I think, round 17 this year. He comes back in off the bench. Mate, brings some great hustle and great, muscle off the bench.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, mate. Like, you look at the one area of, like, if I look at Penrith and Parramatta and you go fullbacks, Dylan Edwards, Gutherson, very similar. Wingers similar, centre similar, halves are very similar, forward pack similar. So it's a very even lineup. You look at the starting 13, and then when you looked at the bench, I just felt Penrith had the advantage on the bench. They got Lena, who's been in great form, Scott Sorens, and like these, really hardened players, and Uppy Coruscant coming on. I thought that's probably one area that Parramatta wasn't as strong. But then you add Nathan Brown there, and all of a sudden it just changes the makeup of that bench. And what Lenu does for Penrith, I think Brownie can do the same thing in terms of adding some go forward and a bit of grunt and some aggression. So all of a sudden now we're looking at Madison and Scott Sorensen. Madison's a state of origin player, a premiership winner. So all of a sudden now Parramatta's bench looks great. So I look at both lineups. I think they're so evenly matched. Even the style of players, like their halves remind me of like the halves remind me of each other. So it's going to be a really interesting game.
No, it's going to be a cracker. Not just one Eels team though on grand final day. Now there's 2 weeks ago, the women's team did win a game. Now they're into a grand final. It's going to be very, very special to have 2 para teams on grand final day.
Mate, if they both win,
shut down Western Sydney.
Parramatta outside now. Shut down the streets of Parramatta because it's going to be mayhem. We lost in 2009 and the streets were packed with people celebrating it. Like we lost. So if we can win and get both with the girls home as well, I can only imagine what this place is going to be like. But the girls, I know everyone jokes around that they only won one game and end up in a grand final to make the finals. But it's a short comp. They were almost robbed against Newcastle last time. There was a try there that could have gone either way. So they weren't terrible this year, and they've beaten now Broncos and Roosters, who are the 2 heavyweights. So they've earned their spot in the grand final, I think.
100%. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound like I was saying that either. Like, it was just funny how they hadn't won a game. They were down the bottom, and then they two wins later, and they're in a grand final. It's great. I think it's great to see. And people that do say that it is a short comp, like you said, you only play 5 games, and we can't just go out and get make it 12 teams and have a finals comp like the one we have with the men's. You got to start small and build it up. And I think what we've done in the NRL women's competition has been brilliant in keeping it small. We've expanded, after a couple of years. We're going to expand again next year and then the year after. I think they're doing it well, and we're going to see such a great comp. And that game on the Cleaners coming through, mate. That's the game. Both games are Sunday. It's going to be massive. But you're right. If both teams win, shut down Parramatta because it'll be a crazy time.
Yeah,
mate. Where do the Eels win the match?
Oh man, I think it's going to be through the front rows. Like if those boys play their best game again, that really nullifies Penrith's forward pack. And if you can do that, it gives Dylan and Mitchell the opportunity to. Dylan and Mitchell will win the game for us.
Yep.
But it's got to come off the back of that forward pack, providing an opportunity. As good as Penrith's defense is, at the end of the day, if you're getting fast play the balls in the trial line, like we did against the Cowboys, Regan walked over the trial line because of the back of those quick plays.
Yep.
So if you can get your forwards providing opportunities like that for your halves and for you give them the opportunity to score the points because it's so hard to defend when you're on the back foot and there's a fast play the ball. So I think the forwards they've got to go toe to toe with the Penrith pack. I think we can go toe to toe with the Penrith pack. I'm really confident that we have the ability to match it, and if not, even be better than them. Our style of play really frustrates Penrith. I think Penrith. I'll be clear. Penrith are the best team in the comp. So for those that think I'm very biased, I am very biased because I love Parramatta. But Penrith are the best team in the comp. And why they're so good is one of the biggest things is their line speed and the way that they attack the game. And I look at Parramatta, the way you stop them from being able to line speed is our offloads, and that's why they've always struggled with us because they put so much energy into their speed of their line, and once Parra come up with an offload, all of a sudden their line has to reset, rejig, go back, and all of a sudden they look a bit disjointed in defence compared to when they're usually just swallowing up teams. So Parra have got to make sure. I know it's a big occasion, but they've got to not put the ball under their arm. They've got to actually keep playing the kind of footy that got them to the grand final.
Yeah, mate. Give us a quick score prediction. Clive Churchill medal winner.
All right, 16-12 to the Eels. So it'll be a tight one.
Low scoring.
Yeah, 16-12. I I think I was going to go Mitch, but maybe Sean Lane for the Clive.
Yep, big lady.
Laney for the Clive, yeah.
Good choices. Mate, just some real quick fan questions to fire off to finish off. So, short answers. Hardest player you played against?
Tom Lolo.
Yeah, yep. Hard to tackle?
Yeah, well, it's either you're a big guy and you run straight or you're a small guy and you got full work. This guy had both of it, so you couldn't, it wasn't
Too
fair.
hard.
Yeah.
Hardest player you played, best player you played with?
Yeah, I think it's Hainsey, Jared.
Yep. That 2009 run. Yep.
Mate, yeah. He could do some freakish things.
Biggest pest you played with?
That Takarangi. Easy.
He might have got in the comment. He might have got in the comments actually.
And keep in mind, I played with like 120, 130 players, and there's a lot of pests in there.
Yep.
And
he stands
I don't
out.
have to think twice. Taggers is my number one very quickly.
Best sledger?
Corey Norman.
Yeah.
Mate, yeah. Finchy was good as well, but Normie would come up with gold. And you'd never be able to beat him in a sledge match. Like he was just so quick. Not as quick as the roasty boys after a game, but he was quick.
Best and worst roomie?
Okay, best roomie. I was lucky towards the back end of my career. I spent like the last 6-7 years as captain, so I got my own room a fair bit.
Yep.
I used to room before that with Fooey all the time, so Fooey Moimoi, and he'd probably be the best and the worst roomie for me. Like,
yeah, right.
So he's the best because he's always a laugh and good fun, and I love him. He was also the worst though because everything would go missing. You'd lose your hoodies, your thongs, your shirt, everything. Everything is ours. There's nothing that's mine. Everything. He'd pack a backpack. I'd pack an overnight bag, and for some reason, he'd always have enough clothes.
I still remember Shane Shackleton doing his Philly. Do you play with Shane?
Yeah.
You would play with Shane, yeah.
Yeah, I play with Shaq, yeah.
And his Philly Moi impression was it the Parramatta Seals.
The Parramatta Seals, yeah, man. He was
mate.
That was a good player too.
Did you have a nickname? I couldn't find one.
Yeah, Georgie. I got that very early in my career. So when I first started training in the first grade team, they didn't really know who I was, and Heidi's always called me the Big Greek.
Yep.
Oh, Big Greek, come out. And I'm like, and eventually after being shy for the first 2-3 weeks, go, mate, I'm not Greek. I'm not. And then he just started calling me Georgie, and my guess is because it's probably the woggiest name you could think of. And Georgie.
Yeah.
And it kind of stuck, and to this day I still get called Georgie. So,
yeah, right. Okay. Like it, Georgie. Any superstitions?
I used to wear the same budgie smugglers throughout the whole season. That's probably the most superstitious I got.
Yep.
Nothing crazy, nothing to report home about.
Any favourite design in the budgies?
Oh, they made a Parramatta Eels one, which I liked, so I just kind of stuck with that. I've got a good little collection now. I don't know how I ended up with a Fiji one. I like my Fiji one.
Left over from somewhere.
Have you guys got one? The roast?
No. I do some stuff actually with budgie, but I might have to heat them up. Might get some roast.
That'd be a great collab, dog. And you on a poster with your roast sauce.
Mate, I should have entered their ordinary rig competition. I'd probably win that hands down. So,
well, mate, the way I'm going at the moment, I'll win that as well.
We'll do a tag team, mate. I want to thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope the Eels get up for you on Sunday. I'll be cheering them home. I think it's going to be a cracking game. But mate, yeah, thanks so much for taking time out, and best of luck with everything in the future.
Thanks, Ledge. Appreciate it, mate.
All right, mate. Talk soon.